Right now, from Milwaukee, this is today's TMJ4 Live at Noon.
Now at noon, Foxconn groundbreaking, a $10 billion plant, thousands of jobs, billions in taxpayer-funded incentives. The president, the governor, the multi-billionaire chairman of the Taiwanese manufacturing giant, and hordes of protesters all converge on this historic day in Wisconsin. Governor Scott Walker calls it the single largest economic development project in the history of Wisconsin. The $10 billion facility could employ up to 13,000 people, plus thousands of construction jobs to build the plant. It does come at a cost to taxpayers. The state of Wisconsin will give Foxconn up to $3 billion in incentives, provided that the company meets certain hiring benchmarks. Local taxpayers in Racine County on the hook for nearly $1 billion more. We have team coverage of everything happening today with Foxconn. Our Lauren Winfrey is at the Pfister Hotel where the president stayed overnight. We also have crews spread out in Racine County. Ben Jordan is at the site of the groundbreaking ceremony. Pete Servakis is at the building where President Trump will speak after this ceremony. And Corinne Zell is at the Smolenski Park, where a demonstration against the Foxconn facility is taking place. We begin our team coverage with our Ben Jordan. He's in Mount Pleasant, where that groundbreaking is set to take place within the half hour. Ben?
Vincent, Elise, we are still awaiting the arrival of President Trump. He was expected to arrive around the top of the hour, but this event doesn't start until 12:25, so he does have a little bit of time. There are several other prominent figures already here. Foxconn Chairman Terry Go, as well as Governor Walker. This is going to be an intimate event here. Only around 50 people have been invited outside of media and security. If you can see right in front of them, there are about 5 shovels set out in front of a giant American flag held up by 2 excavators, and in front of that are about 100 different construction machines ready to get going on Phase 1, Area 1 of this Foxconn project, which will be the Science and Technology Center. Now, although this is the ceremonious groundbreaking, it is just that they have been moving earth in this area for the past month and a half to prepare for this day. And as you saw in Milwaukee with the protests, you will not find that here at this groundbreaking, as Braun Road, the only road leading up to this event, is completely blocked off by law enforcement and Secret Service. Once again, we'll have much more here coming up at 12:25. Reporting live in Mount Pleasant, Ben Jordan, today's TMJ4.
All right, Ben, we'll certainly check back with you frequently in the hour. Meanwhile, organizers boast more than 40 groups are actively protesting the Foxconn development and President Trump. Some got started early this morning, blocking a freeway off-ramp from 794 in downtown Milwaukee. Drivers had to back their vehicles back up the ramp and get back on the freeway to find another way to get into town. And now more protests are happening in Mount Pleasant, just a few miles away from the site where Foxconn will break ground on its first North American plant. Our Corinne Zell is live with that part of our team coverage. Corinne, what do you see where you are?
Vincent, Elise, this group of protesters is calling themselves Operation Shake the Ground. Take a look behind me here. There's a big group gathering underneath that awning at Smolenski Park. Now, we're told homeowners directly impacted by Foxconn and eminent domain are expected to talk here in the next hour or so. We're also hearing groups from all over the state are gathering here to protest Foxconn, some for economic impact reasons, other for political reasons. And we've also seen just a minute ago a busload of folks with Fight for 15 signs get dropped off, and they're starting to gather underneath the awning as well. In the midst of all these protesters, we have seen a couple of Mount Pleasant police officers here walking around, interacting with these folks. Now, this group plans to be here at the park for about an hour and a half or so. There's a podium set up underneath that awning. Different speakers are supposed to come up and talk to the crowd. And then their plan is to march to Village Hall. They think that'll take them about a half an hour, and then once they're at Village Hall, they plan to protest again for another couple of hours. So that's the plan that we're hearing at this point. I'm going to listen and see who's speaking and keep you updated here in the noon hour. Reporting live in Mount Pleasant, Corinne Zell, today's TMJ4.
All right, thanks, Corinne. We'll check back with you in a bit. At this hours-long protest, we are expecting to hear from Kim and Jim Mahoney, Mount Pleasant landowners who have publicly objected to Foxconn construction since plans were first announced. We last heard from them back in May. Here's what they had to say then.
They're not willing to consider homeowners' offers, even though they're telling the media and everybody that every homeowner has sold their home willingly. they're doing so under the threat of eminent domain.
Regardless, the project is quickly moving forward.
Following today's actual groundbreaking, President Trump and the other dignitaries will be talking about Foxconn's impact on Wisconsin and America. Our Pete Servakis is behind the scenes at that location, and he sets the stage for us. Pete?
You mentioned about well, Vince, we are inside the Foxconn facility in Mount Pleasant. This facility commonly dubbed the Opus building, and as you mentioned, we're awaiting President Donald Trump here. We expect him to arrive here in this building, head up to the podium behind us, and make some remarks immediately after that formal groundbreaking where our Ben Jordan is. Now, we expect the president to take the podium about 1:15 today, according to the White House. No word yet how long he'll speak for. What we can tell you is that a spokesperson for Foxconn expects 800 people here to hear the president's remarks. He says the folks in this room who you're looking at are a mix of public officials, community leaders, also some people who are buyers or suppliers with Foxconn that, of course, would have a very large interest in this project. The president's going to also be delivering that speech in the midst of a lot of high-tech LCD displays. He's going to tour this facility before he steps to the podium. We can tell you we got to see some of the displays that are laid out that a lot of these visitors got to look at as they arrived into the building. A lot of different screens for different devices like cars, hospital rooms, and, of course, TVs. So in the meantime, we're going to stay here. The program behind us is going to continue. And we expect the president in about an hour, a little over an hour, about 1:15, we expect him to take the podium. We'll keep you posted. Live in Mount Pleasant, Pete Servakis, today's TMJ4.
All right, thanks, Pete. We'll check back with you in a bit. You can see firsthand the type of products Foxconn will be building in its future facility. There will be a 2-day open house at the Opus facility. Now, the first will be on Friday from 10 in the morning until 7 at night. The second will be on Saturday from 10 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon.
Well, as the president makes his way to Mount Pleasant, heightened security still surrounds much of downtown.
And that's where we find our Lauren Winfrey, who's been in that area since the early morning. Good morning, good afternoon, Lauren.
Hey, good morning, Vince and Alicia. The presidential motorcade took off about 15 minutes ago, but you can see quite clearly Jefferson is still blocked off, although there are some cleanup efforts underway. I saw police breaking down some of these gates and taking down some of the tape. But with all this activity happening downtown, I spoke with a few people who say they have a message they want to send to the president. From parking signs to signs that restrict sidewalk entry, and even signs like these handcrafted by this small group of protesters. It's clear signs are popping up all over downtown Milwaukee now that the president's in town.
We're just out here flexing our First Amendment rights.
And Kyle Hagee, who's lived in the city for about 3 years, is using a sign of his own to do it. And by being out here today, what message are you trying to send to President Trump?
I don't know if we're sending a message explicitly to President Trump, but I think we're sending a message to everyone that sees our signs.
Hagee says his efforts aren't necessarily backed by a local organization. Instead, he texted a group of his friends and asked them to join him. Benjamin Ringel is one of those friends who answered the call, but Ringel says standing together today isn't just about resisting the president and his policies.
When it comes down to it, you need to show up at the polls, you need to show up at the primaries, because every single opportunity you have to vote is an opportunity to protest in some way.
But not everyone is protesting the president.
We are ecstatic about everything President Trump has done for everyone.
In fact, as she heads to rub elbows with the commander-in-chief during his fundraiser at the Pfister, Pat Kraft says as a Milwaukeean, she's proud to welcome President Trump into town. Now, traffic may still be backed up in this area, but I did speak with MPD, and they say they hope to have these streets back open early this afternoon. But for now, reporting downtown, Lauren Winfrey, today's TMJ4.
All right, thanks, Lauren. The multi-billion-dollar Foxconn project developed rather quickly.
Tom Durian takes a look back at how we got from that initial proposal to today's groundbreaking.
The road to Foxconn started in the air in April of 2017 when the president was flying over Kenosha and Racine on his way to Snap-on Tools to sign his Buy American, Hire American executive order.
That land should be used. So when Foxconn came into the White House, into the Oval Office, the president said, I know a good spot that you should go.
Fast forward 2 months later in June when President Trump visited Waukesha and dropped the biggest clue about what was to come.
We were negotiating with a major, incredible manufacturer of phones and computers and televisions and I think they're going to give the governor a very happy surprise.
In July 2017, as rumors swirled about Foxconn and its potential to locate in Wisconsin, it is made official at the White House.
Foxconn will invest in southeast Wisconsin.
The next day, Governor Scott Walker and Foxconn Chairman Terry Goh signed the Memorandum of Understanding, starting the battle over the $3 billion in incentives offered by the state. In September of 2017, despite opposition, the incentive package passes and Governor Walker signs it into law. A recent Marquette law poll shows the deal is still unpopular statewide, with 46% polled saying the state is paying too much, with 40% thinking it's a good idea.
Establishes Wisconsin and Racine County in particular as the electronics manufacturing capital of North America.
All that was left was a location, and in October of 2017, Foxconn settles on the Mount Pleasant area in Racine County for its 20 million square foot, $10 billion plant.